Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Better Death Collective podcast. In this episode, we'll help you get to know our friend, end-of-life planner Michele Little, and her Beautiful Dying Virtual Expo. This year's event will mark the Expo's 4th year, and while COVID may have thrown a wrench in things at first, it certainly didn't deter Michele from developing one of the most interactive and educational death care events around. It's a time and place where anyone with a death care-related question or solution can be heard and come away more confident, enlightened, and prepared to handle the inevitable. Well, today's Michele's turn to be heard, so let's get right to it with the compassionate and wise Michele Little. Hi, Michele Little. Welcome to the Better Death Collective podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Matt. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's good to have you on. We've been trying for a little bit. We finally got it nailed down, and so this is good. It's a beautiful day, and this is a great opportunity for us. So thank you for being here. Much appreciated.
Thank you as well. Yeah, I know we've both have got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, everybody does. You should have a lot of stuff going on. You got to keep it exciting. Keep things rolling.
I think you just froze.
So,
I had no
Michele,
idea.
you are an end of life event planner. Could you tell us a little bit about what that means?
Yes, I can. I do want you to know that you've been freezing, so I have no idea what you said before. What is a end of this life event planner? And so that's the question. That is the question. And one of the things that we're going to be learning at the Beautiful Dying Expo this year is who is a death midwife, a death doula, an end of life planner, an end of life guide, death, and it's all over the place. So what I want to be able to do is share through a roundtable discussion at the Beautiful Dying Expo who and what and where and why we are who we are and why we say we are we do these things underneath the umbrella of a death doula. So I call myself an end of this life event planner because it is the end of this life that we know it and not end of all life. And so I'm really trying to change some language so that we all can work together and understand at the very beginning on who we are. And so that people understand what we can do in our services and tasks that we would take on as a end of life doula or midwife or a death doula or a death midwife. I mean, there's so many different words for the work that's being done from the service of our hearts.
Sure.
Did I answer your question?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely, it does. And so you mentioned they've got the Beautiful Dying Expo coming up. And this is the 4th annual Beautiful Dying Expo. So this is something that's fairly new. And so it's really still gaining traction, but it's been really successful so far. Huge success, I would say.
Thank you.
Tell us what you think we can expect from this year's Expo.
Well, this year we're doing we're doing it differently. We're doing a taste of 2023. Taste Beautiful Dying Expo. And see what's going to happen in 2023. So this year, we've always worked through 6 different tracks, 6 different categories to make sure that we encompass all of what happens in life, celebration, love, dying, death, and grief, and bereavement. So I've taken the Beautiful Dying Expo and turned it into an umbrella for every source that we need as any of us. It doesn't matter whether you're an expert in your field or not. There's something that's out there that you may not know or that you want answered. And so this year we're inviting the audience to ask all the questions to the presenters and the experts, the professionals, whomever you'd like to have a conversation with. And so what I've seen is we started in 2019, but this all came to me way before then. And didn't know how or why or what to make of it. So I just kind of listened to what I call the other side. It's a very energetic, very frequency-based experience that I go through to get to where I am. And so the Beautiful Dying Expo came through that realm of energy. And it could have been from people who have passed. I don't know those things. But I do know that I've been asking questions about dying and death all of my life. Like, what happens, where is, and every time it was shoved under the rug. My parents wouldn't talk about it. My friends didn't want to hear about it. I mean, I'm talking from like 3 years old on. I'm like, wait, what about?
Yeah.
Except for my grandfather. And my grandfather was really wonderful. He took me to, when I went into Brooklyn, I'm from New York. So from Long Island, I'd go into Brooklyn and spend a weekend with my grandparents. And he would take me to a diner where all his friends are, and just be like cooing all over me. It was really sweet. But he would always tell me what his perspective was on living and loving and learning and celebrating and dying and death. And he promised me from the age of 3 to the age of 10 that he would say goodbye to me before he died. So when he died, October 31st, 1969, my brother and I were walking out the door to go trick-or-treating, and my mom picked up the phone, and all you hear from her is like, "Oh no." And we run back in, and she says, "Well, what's going on?" She says, "Poppy passed away." And I'm like, "Okay, come on, let's go. We're, going to finish up our work. Let's go get some more candies and stuff." And my brother tells me, my younger brother says, "Mom, what's wrong with you? He died." I'm like, of course he didn't die. He promised to say goodbye. So, of course, he was right. And he was in Florida when he died, and I was in New York. And I was freaking out. I ran up to my room, slammed the door. I was like, why? What have I learned? What does it all mean? And he shows up. And he says to me, "Michele," just from his shoulders up, he was right there. And he said, "I've come to say goodbye. You have to let me go, or I'll get caught up in the astral plane, and I have too much work to do." And I'm like, "Whoa." I said, "You came, you said you'd be here. You are here. I hear you. I'm not here to hold you back on anything you have to do. Who am I? But thank you for coming."
And now this was an actual apparition that you saw, like an actual present in the room? Mm-hmm. Wow. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
And then he said, "Goodbye, and I'll always love you. I'll always be with you." That's what he said. "I'll always be with you." So I've had that with me my entire life. Whether people heard me or didn't hear me, whether it was real or not real, it's irrelevant if anybody else doesn't think so, but I know so, and it's changed my life because of what he said.
Promised you, and to give himself and you that sense of closure, because he had work to do and he needed to move on. And did that? Do you think that helped you in your grieving process? Did you feel a sense of relief from that experience?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I had nothing. It didn't matter what anybody had to say in my family. And we weren't allowed to go to funerals either. So I didn't even go to my grandfather's funeral. We weren't allowed to go to funerals. It's not like we weren't allowed. It was like, it's not for children. So the 60s, you have parents from the 40s who have children in the 60s. I mean, there's quite a split on who and why we're on the earth. But I guess we could say that about your kids too, like.
Man, it just keeps leaping up. Yeah.
Each generation learns something more.
What I'm seeing is a pattern, of people who are involved with death doula work and similar types of work, in the death care industry in general, tend to be sometimes quite sensitive. And, there's usually a person or two in their lives that helps nurture that, somebody that they could go to. And it's such a common theme where people think they're weird, and because they don't know how to understand, they don't know how to speak to them. They don't know how to help them through their issues and their problems. And it's so common, but there's always that grandfather or grandmother or a cousin, somebody who gets it, somebody who helps you along and helps nurture that. And so it's no surprise to me that you set yourself off on this path.
Thank you.
It makes perfect sense. It's a calling, and you followed it.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings me to, the not just the creation of this expo, which is I think we should touch on, but kind of your path that led up to this. Like how did this happen? How did you end up starting this expo? What inspired it?
My questions that have been hidden under the rug for so long. I was thinking, if I have these questions and haven't had any answers, how many other people in the world also have these types of questions that haven't been answered? Mm-hmm. And how am I going to be able to get the answers that I want? That it's time for me to unleash all those questions under the rug. And how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to ask the experts. I'm going to ask the professionals. I'm going to ask, people like yourself, like, what is it to be a cemeterian? Why? And,
mm-hmm.
what do you get out of it? And how can you help me help others with what you mm-hmm. know? And so I decided mm-hmm. that the only way, after my death midwifery certification class, when I kept asking questions, and she's like, Michelle, there are other people in the room, and I'm like, well, yeah. I'm sure that they have these questions too, because they can't just be mine. I mean, okay, I've been told I'm a little eccentric, and that's okay. I'm good with that. Go for it. And so I just think that the whole idea of getting the answers, the only way was to start an expo and mm-hmm. and bring all of you into the arena for all of the audience in the world to be able to ask the questions to you, because, these last 3 years have been pretty gruesome at times and painful. And so, just like, for instance, 2020, which I call the year of isolation, I had worked 17 hours a day trying to figure out what we're going to do for the expo that year. And, mm-hmm. That was all about learning about virtual reality. What does that look like? What are these virtual, who are these platforms? What can they do for me? How can we get out there and reach people? Because, our first year was physical at the San Diego Convention Center. Who knew was going to show up? We had no idea who was going to show up. And those people that were a part of the Beautiful Dying Expo in 2019 didn't even know each other. So that was a real big awakening for everyone to be able to find out, a estate planner to a funeral director to memorials at sea, and what does it mean mm-hmm. to have, burials and cremations, and what's new. And I mean, you look at things that happened in 1974, nobody was looking at cremations at that time, even though it might have been available, but it's not like it is today. And I think people should really know, the changes that have happened, the history of it, and to make, positive, wonderful results from them and do the right things for themselves. And then, and they wouldn't be a burden or feel that they were a burden on their family if they just took care of their paperwork. So I wrote a book called Exit Papers 101, and it's, I don't know if I have it right here in front of me, but it's a checklist. It's a book of checklists from who you are to where you're going, to who's part of your family, to medical list of your family, what mm-hmm. happened with them, if there's any cancers in the family, who was it, things like that you would have at your doctor's office, placed into this checkbook. And it's a complete workbook from there to, are you going to be cremated or buried? And, mm-hmm. or are you going to, provide your body donations or a whole body? These are very important questions. Like, is it a whole body? Is it going to be part of my body? What happens to the rest of it? Things like that are really, really important to know and understand and educate oneself to know what is available. So that's why the expo is here. And there's been a lot of tragedy in my life. From my grandfather, it was a tragedy for me that he passed. Mm-hmm. And my brother in New York City, he was a firefighter in Rescue 1. He was killed in 9/11. I have my father died at the age of 49. That was before 9/11. And then my future husband's father, my future father-in-law, died. His mother died, and then his father died, my husband to be. Mm. And so we, I think Bob, my Joel's father, really helped me understand organization at end of life and how important it is to have your paperwork done. And so he helped me help him at his end of life. So in 2019, when we didn't know who was going to show, we ended up with 400 people coming from the San Diego area, or from the Southern California area. Some people came from Santa Barbara as well to come and see this expo. Well, I didn't think so, but in hindsight, yeah, it was amazing. I'm blown away at the work that was done and the people that showed up to believe in the vision. So
sure. You have to plant that seed. 400 people, that spreads exponentially.
Thank you.
That's that's a great way to start. I mean,
who would know? Who would have known that someone wants to talk about dying and death? And that's another thing. It's not death and dying. It's dying and death. Dying comes first, right? Dying.
That's true.
And we're not in a library, looking up our cards where D-E comes before D-Y, right? I think that's where it came from. Sure. Death comes before dying, but no, that's not true. And so that's why it's a Dying and Death Expo. I'm really trying to change some language around for us to be able to really see things clearly, right? Be clear.
There's a sequence there. Yeah, there's an order. There's definitely an order there. Right. And, it's strange to me, the timing of the start of the expo, 2019, right before COVID hit, it may seem at first like not a very ideal situation, where people are locked down and quarantined and stuff and can't really go out. Now you're scrambling to try and figure out how to do it remotely, digitally, all that stuff. However, and I've said this before, if there's a silver lining with the pandemic, and I think there are a few. Yes. It's that the conversations about death, about dying and death, I should say, are becoming more and more common, because I think people have become more simply aware of their own mortality. Yes. And there's conversations around the dinner table about, well, what do you want to have happen when you die? How would you like to, be remembered? How would you? And these conversations are happening, things that have been just stuffed down for generations because it's taboo. You don't talk about it. It's like, I don't think very many people can really articulate why we don't talk about it, but I think we can boil it down to fear.
And I think it's fear of dying. But it's a fear of dying.
Yeah, the unknown. And I think that now, there's still that fear, of course. There's still that unknown. Oh, yeah. However, the fear of not having things taken care of and properly arranged when it is our time, that is slowly fading, because I think these conversations are starting to happen. And I think it's these expos and events like the Beautiful Dying Expo that are a huge help to that. I mean, do you see that as well?
Yes, I do. And I don't think that there's any. I think that the Beautiful Dying Expo is the only Beautiful Dying Expo, the only expo within the dying and death community that's bringing everybody together under one umbrella. And it's I'm really trying very hard to bring in like-minded, loving, right from the heart kind of people to participate in the expo, so that it brings in the light and the love and the groundedness that the audience needs to feel comfortable to share their own stories. But what I've been saying is 2020 was the year of isolation. 2021 was the year of reflection. 2022 right now is the year of awakening. And next year we're holding the expo as a call to action. So it's all kind of coming together in a way that is from the universe. It's from somewhere else, saying this has to happen. And we have grown 200% each year. We were in 2020, we were in 35 countries. In 2021, we were in 45 countries. And the attendance went up 200% from one year to the next, from 2019, 20, and 21. This year, because we're changing a little bit, we're doing a taste of what's going to happen in 2023. We are putting things together a little bit differently. We're inviting all the presenters on each day for their day to come on to a panel, and the audience comes onto the main stage and asks all their questions to you guys. And so on day one, like I said earlier, we have 6 tracks. So I'm just going to tell you the tracks and what we're doing instead of going through them all at once. And
yeah,
going
great.
Back.
That's perfect.
So on Friday, 11/11, we are going after death events, track 5, and loss and grief education and support, track 6. And I decided that those 2 needed to go first on our opening day because that's what we're going through right now. And it's not going to go away. But as long as we can express ourselves and say, yes, this is happening, and it's happening in my life, or it's happening in my friend's life, or how can I help, support? How do I ask for support if I'm the one dying? What words can be used for everybody to say, when you have died, what words are the right words, so that you feel confident, comfortable in what you're saying to that person, and for them to be able to receive it. So I really felt that those 2 were the openings on Friday. On Saturday, we're talking about track 2, which is mysticism and spirituality, cultural myths, theology, and beliefs. And track 3, that's track 2, and track 3 is holistic alternatives. So we have a really beautiful day coming up for each day. Saturday, we're using as a featured presentation of a film, and it's going to be a pretty amazing film from Johanna Lunn, and I want to make sure I get it right, because everybody's like, when you die, or when you do this, and I keep forgetting, and I don't want to, but it's When You Die Project, and they'll be sharing their film with us on Saturday night. So that is pretty great. We have phenomenal keynote speakers starting at 10 o'clock every morning, and then following through with a presenters panel, to networking, to all of the presentations, continuing education classes, podcasts that are going on, and yeah, I think that's everybody. And it's just letting you know what you're going to find next year, and it's just going to be pretty amazing. And the having Sunday be prepare for the final, getting your affairs in order, and end of life care is really important, because on Sunday, now you've gone through your pathway on Friday into Saturday about your whole spiritual essence, holistic alternatives. Where are you bringing your whole body into mind, body, and spirit into this holistic experience? And then all the paperwork, prepare for the final, getting your affairs in order. So that's like your advanced care bucket list. It's your financial estate planners, your estate planners, your attorneys in any aspect, insurance policies, real estate, business interests, specifically digital assets, because we are in a digital age right now. And
sure. What are your passwords?
Right. So yeah. I lost my place there. Digital assets. So, for instance, my uncle, in his 80s, had to have the newest iPhone there is. He would, as soon as they told him about it, he signed up for it. And so his phone turned into not just his thumbprint, but his whole handprint to his eyes, right? And all of his passwords and everything were in that phone. So
of course,
his health fails. He's in the hospital, and nobody can get to his passwords because his eyes are closed. And even if you were to open up his eye, do this to it, and it still wouldn't work. Right? So miraculously, he came out of that and lived another 2 years, I think. He just passed this year. His wife just passed, and then he passed. And it's like you got to think about, in hindsight, what would happen if, and it's just like, if you're ill and you still can speak for yourself, and where was I going with that one? Oh, and there's a turn. You haven't taken care of your advanced care directive. You haven't even done your pre-planning for your end of life. And here you are, immobile and wanting to take care of things so that you're not a burden on other people, but you haven't taken care of any of this. So it's really, really important that through this expo that we explain that it's felt right in your heart that I'm gonna not be a burden on my family. I'm going to be responsible for my body. I'm going to be accountable for what I do with my body, and everyone is going to abide by my wishes. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's so simple. I think that, and I've experienced this in my own life, people that I know, like, it doesn't matter, I'll be dead. It doesn't matter what you do. And it's like, well, that's not, we'll still be here. We're going to be here, like, trying to pick up the pieces and figure everything out. It's like, just take the time. Yeah. Take the time, sit down and think about it, and think about what the situation will be like for your loved ones after you go. Make sure everything is covered.
Let me tell you, my mother, about 6 years ago, I said to her, what happens to your body when you die? And that's what she said. I don't care what you and your brother do with it. Bury me, cremate it. I don't care. And I'm like, hold on, lady. That's not right. That's not the answer. The answer is, what is it that you want with your body when you die? When it dies, I should say. And so she hung up the phone with me. And then about 3 weeks later, she goes, I know what I want. I want to be cremated. I'm like, okay, was it written down? Because you're telling me this isn't going to do anything. There could be a fight for, your body elsewhere, right? So and to this day, I have no idea if she did anything or not. But it's just very interesting how people in that age group, we're talking in the 80s, right? Not 1980s, but 80-year-olds and 90-year-olds right now. I mean, she's 88 and her husband's 99. And they're still living on their own.
Yeah, that's old.
That's old, right?
Good for them.
And
good for them. But that said, time to put it in writing. Make some plans, because 99, 88, you are not long for this world, most likely, unfortunately. But it's not easy. It's not easy. I have empathy for people in that position, because it's a big step to have that conversation, because it means that you have to kind of prepare to die. You have to prepare yourself spiritually and mentally. And I think that maybe reaching that age and coming to that realization might be more difficult than if you do it way ahead of time. If you're, ready for retirement, maybe that should be part of it. It's like, well, I'm ready to retire. Maybe I should handle, my, get all my affairs in order now. That should be. I
think it should be it should be a part of high school, and they should have five wishes right there, because how many kids, I know that at that age I was invincible. Nothing could harm me. And I'm not saying that no one should feel that way, because it's a really great feeling, but also to know that, that it's detrimental also. I have okay, I'm just going to leave it there.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think that you're right. And, I personally experienced the loss of a couple of close friends at a very young age. So it does happen. it does happen, unfortunately. We are not invincible, in fact.
Right.
So we know a lot about what we can expect from this year's Beautiful Dying Expo, and it's such an exciting thing, especially, you know, being a green cemeterian now. I feel that you know, making these types of connections is not only a good idea, it would be invaluable to, you know, just my experience as a green cemeterian, just to have an understanding of how this whole process works. It's not just about digging a grave, you know, with a shovel. It's so much more than that. It's so much more beautiful than that.
Tell us more. Tell us more.
It's a whole team. Oh, geez. Well, you know, it's been a long road. It's been a long road and a difficult road, and I'm still on the road. And it's, you know, we have our cemetery now. We have it. It's in Barnum, Minnesota, just near Duluth. So it's, you know, it's the North Woods. It's beautiful. It's in a place called the Black Hoof Valley, which is just a little piece of paradise. You know, that part of Minnesota is just spectacularly beautiful. And there's all sorts of wildlife. There's tons of flowers, and however, it is a pocket of very conservative values and shock to the locals culturally. It's not what they're used to, and they are having a difficult time with it. And so we have kind of had to explain a lot to them as to who we are and what we're doing, and kind of put the fire out when it comes to false information being spread, you know, about animals digging up graves and that sort of thing. And there's going to be odors, there's going to be poisoned water supplies, and it's like, you know, let's just chill out, everybody. Let's just chill out.
Let's just share with you the certification process so that you can see that is not anywhere possible in what we're doing. Right?
But, you know, to people who are, you know, well versed in green, you know, burial practices, and we understand how it works. And it's one thing for us, you know, to talk about it and to, you know, say, oh, it's no big deal. But for these people, they've kind of been blindsided by this. And so we have to have compassion for them. And we do. And it's I think with patience and with a little bit of time, they will see that their fears have not come true, and that everything's okay, and that we're actually probably the best neighbors you could ever ask for.
Learning experience.
Definitely the quietest. Well,
that was funny.
You know, yeah. There's no doubt about it. That's undeniable. No parties. There won't be any parties. So, yes, Michelle, I think that this is great. You know what? I think it would be a good idea if we kind of catch up after the expo happens, and then do another quick podcast and just see how it went, and what we've learned, and what you know, what we can maybe plan for the next year to come.
Absolutely.
And I think it would be a good idea, because I'm sure it's going to be a beautiful event, and
thank you.
I'm excited for it. So thank you so much for being here. Is there anything that you would like to share in closing here with the viewers, as far as where to find you, how to sign up, and how to do all that?
So you can register for free right now, so I wouldn't wait. You want to go to Beautiful Dying, DYING Expo.com. You can click on any of the buttons that say register here, and you'll be directed to the Hop-In platform landing page for the Beautiful Dying Expo. So that's where you'll register your name and your email. There is a in the question, in the registration, it asks if you have up to 5 questions to ask anyone on any day, and just put it out there where how you're feeling, what's happening, what questions you might have, and we will get them all answered. And it is virtual.
Well,
it's 100% virtual. We've been doing this for 3 years with the Hop-In platform, or on the Hop-In platform, and it's getting better and better every year with regards to how the platform works. So I'm really excited about the changes that they've made to make it much easier for us to participate and join on a level that I guess we'll see what it looks like when we open up next week, November 11th, 12th, and 13th. So come. There's so much to learn.
Go.
So much to learn. And so much
11/11.
11/11. It's Veterans Day too.
Oh, it's a powerful number and a powerful date, and it's perfectly fitting, I think.
Thank you.
So,
I do too.
Thank you so much, Michele, and it was really great talking with you. Thank you so much for coming here, and we will have you on again in the very near future, I hope.
Excellent. I do want to say one thing before we go.
Sure.
This was from my daughter when she was 9 years old, and and it's all about your values. So she says that being responsible is taking care of myself by being accountable for my actions. Respectful is being mindful about the care of things and people's feelings. Mindful is being present in the moment and staying focused. Accountable is taking responsibility for my actions and accepting my consequences. And the result of that is by being responsible, respectful, mindful, and accountable every day of my life, I will receive peace, happiness, love, and more friends. And I wanted to share that.
Beautiful.
I wanted to share that with you because of the questions that people are having about, your new cemetery. And I just think that if everybody were to take on what Corey had to say, we would all be in a really beautiful world right now.
I agree 100%. I agree. And I think that in time, everything will be okay. But with that in mind, I can take that in and apply it to my own life.
Yay.
And it definitely is not going to hurt. So I thank you so much for that. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I thank your daughter too.
Yeah, she's now 31, so she's doing good.
Gosh, she's a kid. Just a youngster.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Michele. I think that's a great place to close it out. So everybody, be sure to attend the Beautiful Dying Expo 2022, November 11th. It's going to be beautiful. And thank you again, Michele.
Thank you.
And
11,
we'll talk
12,
to you
and
soon.
13. 11, 12, and 13. The whole weekend.
11, 12, and 13. 3 days. Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Talk
Thank
to you later.
Too.
There you have it, folks. Michele Little giving us the inside scoop on what's sure to be a tremendously successful Beautiful Dying Virtual Expo 2022. As death care workers, we tend to get caught up in our own little corners, tucked away and sheltered from what could be enlightening conversations, golden opportunities, and plain old learning experiences. If we can start seeing one another as members of the same community, think of how much better and brighter we could make the end-of-life experience for the rest of the population who look to us for guidance during what can otherwise be truly dark times. Thanks to Michele, we're getting closer to this being a reality every day. So go to beautifuldyingexpo.com and get your tickets to the Beautiful Dying Virtual Expo coming up November 11th through 14th. But otherwise, that about does it for this episode of the Better Death Collective podcast. Please follow us on social media and tune in to our next episode. Until then, take care.